Hi there everyone. So today I drew the card, the King of Wands reversed, and I've done a video on this, and I'll maybe leave a link to this video that I made before. I just wanted to talk a little bit about one story that's been popping up in my life just maybe in the last year or two, more and more frequently, which is this story of narcissism, and this reverse King of Wands would be a typical narcissist quality, or he maybe has more of those narcissistic qualities than most of the other shadow court, and so I thought it would be good to talk a little bit about narcissism. Basically, there's a lot of information out there about it, and there is everybody recognizes most of the obvious narcissistic traits. There are some hidden ones in what's known as the covert narcissist, and we all have some narcissistic qualities, and you only got to do a test online to see that, yeah, we all have some of those qualities that make up proper narcissistic personality disorder. A lot of them are common. A lot of them come from fears, comes from self-doubt. A lot of the patterns and the behavioral programs come from growing up usually with a narcissistic person around us. Could be a parent, one or the other, or both even, but usually one or the other. So a narcissist will typically portray themselves as super important. They'll be very selfish and self-centered, and their energy will be all about them, and they are famous for trying to dominate and manipulate other people, which is why it's very much related to this King of Wands. And this manipulation and domination energetic or tactic is something that is developed at a younger age in order to grab energy from other people, and they become those psychic and energetic vampires that people talk about, where they're always trying to take something from you, always trying to get the best out of a situation for themselves in a very selfish way. They can often appear to be quite arrogant, and they may even appear to be self-assured or self-confident, and yet they're not really self-confident. It's just a face or a facade that they're putting on to the world to pretend that they are more special, more gifted, and better than the rest of the world and other people around them, so that they can basically hide from themselves their fundamental insecurities in their own shadows. So a narcissist himself, herself, is someone who as a child was not given enough love and is coming from a very strong and sincere place of lack. Usually they were rejected, put down, and had some type of traumatic childhood, but they were definitely not loved, but most probably judged and strongly rejected in one way or another for whatever reason. But usually the parent wasn't able to give importance to the child enough to share attention and love, wasn't able to appreciate the child for the gifts that you might have had, that we might have had. Now, we can say that all of our parents maybe failed on that level, on some level, and so we all pick up on this feeling of lack and not being quite good enough, and that we weren't quite enough on some level, and we'll all be striving for, looking for, desiring more love from the world out there. A narcissist has no framework or no program, or hasn't been taught on any level how to give themselves love, and so they are desperate for love. They are desperate for other people's appreciation and other people's need, and this is very similar to an opposite energetic of codependency. A narcissist will big themselves up in order to look really big and important so that they can have that image to the world, and the world can mirror that back to them, and sometimes the world does. And the people who will do that the best are the people who don't feel good enough and have the same, are coming from the same state of lack and not being or not feeling loved enough, but will develop codependent qualities because they will seek out that love and feel desperate for a little bit of attention. And because the energetical mirror and the place that they both come from, a codependent and a narcissist, is the same origin, they have this inner dynamic which will attract each other and will mirror each other back. The codependent will never get the love he or she wants from a narcissist, and the narcissist will kind of suck dry the energy from a codependent, but it will never be satisfying. There will never be any degree of satisfaction for the narcissist. It's like a bottomless well that can never really be filled, because it's not something that can be filled from the outside but from the inside, and it's usually not somewhere, the inside is not normally somewhere that a narcissist would look in order to fulfill their lack of love and their feelings. I'm talking a little bit about this because the King of Wands came up today, as I said, and I bump into a lot and do a lot of readings and work with clients who have had many narcissistic relationships, and I've had some narcissistic relationships too, or relationships with more stronger borderline personality disorder type people or covert narcissist type people. Without knowing it, without really understanding, this is maybe before I understood what all of this story was and recognized the qualities and the traits within. But the real point that I would like to share today is that, you know, we look out there and we judge these narcissistic people or people with these personality disorders as being the wrong person, and they're so bad and wrong, and they're they're the obvious evil villains, which, you know, is a fair enough judgment on some level, but is not really owning the story and it doesn't usually create a positive vibration in order to start healing, because that narcissist will come from the same place as you if you are codependent in nature, and it's the same trauma which we have to deal with. And in a way, our lack of love and this neediness that we'll feel if we have codependent qualities, and if you want to look it up on the internet and to understand some of these terms a little bit clearer. But if you want to understand what some of this need for love and this desperate searching for love and how that affects us and draws towards us the wrong type of people in our lives. This is so common. This is so unconscious, and we'll go out there and look for love in the world, but from a place of feeling empty and feeling lack, and so we just attract people who have that same dynamic, and normally they're people who want to, who you would like to take some of our energy, and they're not codependents like we are, but they're narcissistic people or people with a higher amount of narcissistic traits. The importance is that there is an inner voice inside of us that is that same narcissistic person, and I recognize this inside of me. I've got my inner narc that is putting me down, is taking energy from me, is robbing my gifts from being expressed, is persuading me that I'm not good enough, is telling me, you know, it's my inner critic, but it's more than my inner critic. This is a narcissistic quality which can be seen as a whole different personality trait inside of us. And it's only when we come to terms that we are our own inner narcissist that will attract that outer narcissist out there, and we need to heal that guy or that little girl who has not been loved enough, and this really is the key healing practice, to do as much as we can to appreciate this younger, more innocent, pure part of ourselves, and to encourage ourselves to bring forth some of that innocence and some of that purity, and share some of our beauty and some of our gifts with the world more openly, by fathering ourselves more positively, by bringing out the positive King of Wands who can say no and yes, to give ourselves proper boundaries, to say no when we need to, yes when we need to, all those positive attributes and ways that we can practice self-love. And this is when that inner narcissist stops having a strong power over us. This is when we stop giving importance to that part of us, and we start being aware that, hey, there's a part of me that's putting me down, and that's why I need somebody else to put me down too, so that I can actually see what I'm doing to myself. Unless we look at it this way, we'll never really empower ourselves to make the change and to be aware of this inner negative voices that that we don't need to give importance to, but we do need to be able to hear inside of ourselves. Otherwise, it's this subconscious, below the surface of our awareness, negative demon whispering in our ear without us even seeing it. We are our own vampire, or we attract what they might call an entity vampire. But this entity vampire is a thought form. It's a way of thinking, it's an inner voice, it's a belief pattern, it's a program, it's the way the brain is connected, it's the way we judge ourselves and we are harsh upon ourselves. So, if you've ever attracted one of these relationships or one of these people into your life, or if you know that one of your parents are a little bit narcissistic in nature, then we're going to be able to recognize some of those qualities inside of us. We're going to be able to recognize either that or this lack of love and the codependency which can come from that. And we can look for our healing and practice healing in a way of giving our little boy and little girl as much attention that she and he never got when they were a kid, and to learn to love ourselves, love our body, look after our body in the best ways we can, in the most fantastic, of giving ourselves the gifts of healthy diet, healthy exercise, and healthy activity that really gets our body excited and really makes us feel grateful for being able to do what we can in this body. Maybe that be the message today, or a little bit of it. I hope you have a fantastic day.